Iron Man. Tony Stark's sacrifice in Avengers Endgame was more than just a fitting climax. In one last gamble to turn the tides against Thanos, Tony charged at him alone, holding on as hard as he could to the Infinity Gauntlet. It seemed useless, but Tony succeeded in stealing the Infinity Stones, and what followed next was Marvel history. In arguably the most crucial moment of the battle, Tony, without a moment of hesitation, laid down his life with a snap that erased Thanos and his army, proudly proclaiming, "I am Iron Man," as he saved the universe. But it wasn't just about that one snap. It was about all the moments that changed who Tony was, the ones that made him into a man who could make the sacrifice play. Throughout the MCU, we saw Iron Man change from selfish playboy to selfless protector, a man who took the impact of his actions seriously, a real leader who cared for the legacy he'd leave behind seriously. His sacrifice cemented his status as one of the universe's greatest heroes, but it was a journey he chose to begin a long time ago. While everyone remembers the snap, it's important to remember where the change in Tony really began, with his first armor and a friend's dying words. Ho Yinsen. The man who built the Mark I armor with him, Ho Yinsen and Tony Stark's relationship was brief, but it was his words and conscience that inspired Tony to become a better person. When Tony was captured by the Ten Rings in Afghanistan, it was Yinsen who saved him by removing much of the shrapnel in his heart, but not all of it. To deal with that, Yinsen improvised an electromagnet using the spare parts around, hooking it up to a car battery to power it. The two were then tasked by the Ten Rings to create a Jericho missile, but Tony instead chose to create a suit of armor to take them out, with Yinsen becoming his partner in survival. During the time they spent trying to get out, Yinsen was the one who made Tony realize that if he were to die, his entire legacy would just be spreading weapons of mass destruction in the world. Technology that groups like the Ten Rings abuse. While they both worked together on the armor, the Ten Rings found out their plan before it could be completed. Yinsen took a gun and attacked the terrorists, providing cover and giving Stark the time he needed. The real kicker? It's only at the end that we find out Yinsen's family is long dead, and that he's essentially only doing it to help Tony escape, who is completely shaken by the revelation. Even with his dying breath, he chose to help Tony see what was important. His last words to Stark were,
"Don't waste it. Don't waste your life."
"Don't waste your life." A sentiment that defined the hero Iron Man. Natasha Romanoff. Natasha's sacrifice in Avengers Endgame was one of the most shocking and heartbreaking moments in the MCU. She and Clint Barton travel to Vormir, tasked with retrieving the Soul Stone, but Red Skull tells them the truth. The only way to gain it is to sacrifice someone you love. A soul for a soul. This forces Natasha and Clint into a painful dilemma. Both believe they should be the one to give their life. Clint feels he's already lost his family, and after years of living as Ronin, he believes there is nothing left for him. Natasha disagrees. For years, she has carried guilt about her past in the Red Room, constantly referring to the red in her ledger. To her, this moment is the ultimate way to balance the scales. The scene becomes a literal fight between friends. Clint tries to jump first, but Natasha stops him. They're both trying their best to save the other, both firm in their belief that they should die. In the end, she makes the choice for him. She tricks Clint, secures him to the cliff with her grappling hook, and lets go. Clint watches helplessly as she falls to her death. When Clint awakens with the Soul Stone in his hand, the reality is clear. Natasha's sacrifice cannot be undone. Even when Hulk later uses the stones to reverse the snap, he confirms he tried to bring her back, but it was impossible. Her final act made the Avengers' victory possible, and it defined her legacy. Natasha always fought for family, and in the end, she gave everything for theirs. Gamora. Unfortunately, the trial for the Soul Stone claimed more than one hero's life. Gamora's sacrifice happens in Avengers Infinity War when she and Thanos travel to Vormir in search of the Soul Stone. Guided by Red Skull, the stone's keeper, they are told that the only way to obtain it is to sacrifice someone they truly love. At first, Gamora believes Thanos is doomed to fail. She mocks him, convinced that he is incapable of loving anyone and that his quest will end here. But as Red Skull explains the nature of the sacrifice, Gamora realizes with horror that she is the one person Thanos truly loves. In tears, Thanos turns toward her. She calls him a monster and insists his love is not real, but Thanos sees it differently. Despite her struggles, he drags her to the cliff's edge. In her final moments, Gamora fights against him, crying out in anger and fear, but Thanos throws her from the precipice while shedding a single tear, the first time we ever see the Mad Titan cry. Her body crashes onto the rocks below, and her soul is taken by the stone. The sacrifice is accepted, and when Thanos awakens, the Soul Stone rests in his hand. Gamora's death devastates the Guardians of the Galaxy, especially Peter Quill, who later learns the truth on Titan. Vision. From the moment Thanos begins his quest for the 6 Infinity Stones, Vision is marked for death, because the Mind Stone embedded in his forehead is the key to completing the gauntlet. This is a reality Vision has to confront soon as the Mind Stone warns him of the incoming threat of the Black Order. When Wanda and him are ambushed in Scotland by the Black Order, he's badly wounded in the attack. The Avengers realize that as long as the Mind Stone remains with him, he will always be a target. Their only hope is to remove it. They bring him to Wakanda, where Shuri works to safely detach the stone without killing him. But time runs out. Thanos' army arrives, and the Wakandan battle begins. Even weakened, Vision shows he is still willing to fight. When Corvus Glaive nearly kills Steve Rogers, Vision drives Glaive through with his own weapon, sacrificing his strength to save his friend. As the fighting intensifies, Vision makes the ultimate decision. He tells Wanda the only way to stop Thanos is to destroy the stone, even though it means killing him. Wanda refuses at first, but Vision convinces her there is no other option. Her powers came from the Mind Stone, and only she has the ability to do it. In one of the MCU's most heartbreaking moments, Wanda destroys the stone with one hand as she holds back Thanos with the other, visibly breaking down. He reassures her with his final words, telling her all he feels is love. He dies as the energy from the stone explodes, his sacrifice seemingly successful. Then Thanos arrives. Using the Time Stone, he cruelly reverses the destruction, rewinding time to before Vision's sacrifice, and then tears the Mind Stone from his head, killing him again, traumatizing Wanda and shattering the hopes of the Avengers. Quicksilver. During the evacuation of civilians near the end of the Battle of Sokovia, Ultron, as a final desperate move, hijacked the Avengers' Quinjet and turned its Gatling guns on the people trying to board the helicarrier lifeboats. Clint Barton was on the ground helping a child reach safety. He pulled the boy in close to shield him as Ultron opened fire on their position. At that moment, in a split-second impulse, Pietro Maximoff raced to their rescue. In a blur, moving both of them behind a car while shielding Clint and the child with his own body. The bullets tore through him instead. With his last words, he looked to Clint and said,
"You didn't see that coming."
"You didn't see that coming?" Quicksilver collapsed and died from his wounds, his body lying still as the battle raged on. Heimdall. Heimdall's sacrifice occurs at the beginning of Avengers Infinity War. After the destruction of Asgard in Thor Ragnarok, the survivors are left aboard the refugee ship, the Statesman. It is here that Thanos and the Black Order ambush them, slaughtering half the remaining Asgardians. Thor and Heimdall are forced to watch as Thanos asserts his power. The Hulk charges at Thanos in a desperate attempt to stop him, but Thanos defeats Hulk with ease. Thor is then restrained, Loki is beaten, and Heimdall lies on the ground, his body broken. Even in this dire moment, Heimdall chooses to act. Summoning the last of his strength and calling upon dark magic, he opens the Bifrost one final time. He directs it toward Earth, sending Hulk crashing into the Sanctum Sanctorum in New York to warn Doctor Strange and the Avengers of Thanos' imminent arrival. This act of defiance enrages Thanos. Without hesitation, the Mad Titan drives his blade into Heimdall's chest. As Thor shouts in protest, Heimdall's body falls lifeless to the floor. His final action ensures the Avengers receive warning of the threat that has already devastated Asgard, setting the stage for the battles to come.